idiots can't be wrong, can they?
Fake carrots! Fake fruit! Fake! Fake! Fake grapefruits! Fake! Liar! You liar!
It's all just a fantastic lie. Hey, welcome back to the Prepared Mind channel. It is the Memorial Day special Sunday night live. I want to thank all veterans who have served, and specifically this day was set into a holiday to honor those who have fallen in the line of duty serving this country. Folks, it's Memorial Day, and it's an important one. It's not just a 3-day weekend. It's not just to get out there and goof around and have another day off and throw a barbecue. But really, folks, the way and the reason we can celebrate the way we do is we're Americans, and great Americans who have come before us have sacrificed, not just so we can have barbecues with hot dogs, hamburgers, and tacos, but so that we can enjoy all the bounty that freedom and productivity provides us. So thank you to you, veterans. Thank you to everybody. Thank you to those who have passed, our great forefathers who sacrificed so great. And forefathers includes everybody. So anyways, let's start off the show. We got a giant $50 super chat donation from Darcy. She says, "Good evening, John. This is just to say thanks on this Memorial Day weekend to all veterans for their service in protecting our great republic and its people." You are welcome, Darcy, and welcome to everybody. I want to say you are all welcome for everything. It's just a good thing. It's a very good thing to be an American, to be free. Funny, though, how the political left, the Democrats, think, no, being free, bad. Free speech, bad. Right to protect yourself, bad. Everything that we hold dear and precious, they consider bad. Your history, well, that's white supremacy, right? Oh, boy. Well, I've had a great weekend. I'm here at Mom's putting on the Sunday Night Live. Once again, it's a holiday weekend, good time to spend with family, and etc. But tomorrow, Monday, is the day celebrated, Memorial Day. That way everyone gets the day off, And then Tuesday, we kick it off all again. But don't expect there to be no SHTF news over the weekend. In fact, there is. I've got a lot of things to talk about, but this is your show where you guys, whether you're YouTube or Facebook, you guys get to come on here. And if you hit that super chat button, put up your question, your comment, your thought, a topic, a person. You can play Tell a Lie, Tell the Truth, and see if I can pick out which one's true or not. As in, you make two statements and one of them is not real. I think last week we got two that were both wrong, trying to stump the John. Anyways, one of my favorite things to do. But this really is your show on Sunday Night Live as we kick off the week. I'm expecting more false flags, folks, because that is what we always seem to get when the Democrats can't get their way. When they want to push their agenda, right, they create problems. So let's start off with what else have we got out there? Nope, let's do this. Oh, by the way, always share that address up there with friends, family, coworkers, anyone you want. I know it's Memorial Day weekend, but people out there, they're probably wondering what's going on. I know they're having a good time, but in the back of our heads, all of us know something ain't quite right. People are waking up all the time. And every time we get these false flags, folks, whether it's a shooting, a murder, some seemingly ridiculous thing happens, there's always something behind it. At the very least, the things that happen in our world, they are exploited for political purposes. Now here, we'll talk about them, but I'm not trying to make you change your life I'm just trying to tell Democrats, don't make us change ours. Let us live free. Well, that's all going to change, folks, because they're not getting their way. So, right, the U.S. Supreme Court, you want to say Roe v. Wade is not a federal issue, but a state issue. You want to throw a monkey wrench in the left wing's program? Well, they've got an answer to that, folks, right? The Democrat senator from Massachusetts, he's calling for packing the Supreme Court because right now, without it being packed by Democrats, it's illegitimate. How do you figure that, folks? Well, anytime the Democrats are not getting their way, it's an excuse to pack the court. Well, we've got to fix these problems. You know, there hasn't been real talk and real action with regard to packing the court since FDR was president. Franklin Delano Roosevelt, back in the World War II area, loved to just pack the court. That way he could get all of his socialist programs passed. Funny how that works, doesn't it? Folks, it's all politics all the time for the Democrats. It's never about what's best for the nation or the people. It's always about politics and their agenda. Oh, by the way, F. Joe Biden. Okay. Lots on the board. Where do we go next, folks? Hit the super chat button. Let me know what you think. I've got something here that's going to knock your socks off, though. 18 major airlines are being sued. The Federal Aviation Administration being sued, and the Department of Transportation are to be sued over cerveza bug, Jim Jones juice mandates. Right now, the plaintiffs are contending that the mandates imposed by these agencies on the airline employees infringed on their constitutional, religious, and medical liberties. And the airlines and the Department of Transportation and the FAA, right, they're all party to this. Right? Once you violate someone's rights and you're a party to it, well, you're going to be held liable, right? This is another big no shit mofo moment for the defendants, right? Now, the ones who pay out of their pocket are the airlines, right? The FAA and the Department of Transportation. Well, those are government entities, and they can just decide not to be sued. And if they do get sued and they do have to pay a fine, well, that just comes out of our pocket anyways. Still, folks, these lawsuits need to be happening, right? Over the next several years, deaths and injuries are going to be everywhere. And the TV commercials with all the ambulance chasing lawyers who were nowhere to be found while our rights were being pissed on, they're going to be all over this. It's going to be interesting how the government tries to hide all the problems that are out there. It's going to be interesting. I hope you've got a big old bag of popcorn and a big tall soda. It's incredible. This is crazy. The mother of the school shooter spoke out and said, quote, "He had his reasons for doing what he did, and please don't judge him." Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Mom. Okay, then. I guess we're going to look past all his troubles with other kids, his mental breakdown, his shooting of his grandmother in her face, and the cold-blooded, premeditated murder of children and teachers. I guess it's all fine now, right? Because he had his reasons. If there was ever an example of stupid on crime, soft on crime, Democrat mentality, this is it, right? Well, there's no need for further explanation. You see, once you have your reasons as a Democrat, it's all okay. But if you're a Republican and want your children protected from perverts and communist racism, you must be a domestic terrorist to be instantly judged, right? Condemned and thrown in a dark prison in D.C. Your constitutionalist, your traditionalist, your hetero scum, you guys all suck. Now, that was the mom. The mom said he had his reasons. Oh, well, I guess that makes everything fine then, right? Well, it gets a little better, folks. That's right. How do you take something that stupid and make it even better? Well, the father of the school shooter said this, quote, "I don't want them calling him a monster. They don't know nothing. Well, I guess we now know. I guess we know, folks, that these people, this family, whoever they are a bunch of lunatics. Don't judge him. He had his reasons. Oh, okay then, right? You don't know nothing about my whatever loser son. Give me a break, folks. I'm sure that they gave this kid of theirs trophies for everything. Oh, you flushed the toilet after you went dookie. Good job. Here's a trophy. All right, let's get to the super chats as you guys put them in there. It is your show. It's Sunday Night Live. Bring on the super chats, and we start with Crazy Uncle doing a $5 question. He says, if the cops in Texas are not even going to do their job and stop a nutcase from shooting kids, what the hell are we paying them for? That's a tough one, right? That's a tough one. Crazy Uncle, I am not going to defend the cops who said, I don't want to get shot, because I've heard it from many, many, many law enforcement officers. They want to go home and have dinner and be with their family tonight and tomorrow night and every night, and they're under no obligation to kill themselves. In fact, it's part of public policy, if you will, that there is no requirement of the police to protect you, right? And I'm not making this shit up. There's no requirement for them to protect you. They can. Their job is to protect the peace, the state. Now, Florida Sheriff Grady Judd has something to say about this, right? And I will say, hey, folks, not all policemen are heroes. They're here to collect a paycheck and get some benefits and a retirement. That's it. They're doing a job. They're going to write tickets. They're going to arrest grandma. They're going to do whatever it takes, but they're not going to get shot at. Not all policemen are heroes, even though we think they should be, or we wish that they were. Well, in Florida, we got a different kind of sheriff. My favorite, Grady Judd, stepped out and issued a warning to potential school shooters everywhere, but specifically with regard to his county. And he says, we'll shoot you graveyard dead. This guy is great. He never ceases to amaze me with the way he does press conferences, and he brings pictures, right? In Polk County, Florida, folks. And I hope to never be breaking the law if I drive through there. Anyways, he condemned the inaction. He condemned the inaction of law enforcement in Uvalde, Texas. And he said that unlike there, potential school shooters will be shot in his county on site. This is the same sheriff who said of the mostly peaceful protesters back in 2020, he said, if anyone comes through your door, you blow them right back out it. Right? So Sheriff Judd said that the hour the shooter was allowed to continue his massacre inside the school was, quote, unacceptable, and that left him mortified and heartbroken. I believe that to be true. There are, folks, real law enforcement out there who care about the Constitution and care about the people and care about our rights. I can't say that enough, that there really are. Not everyone is like these guys that say, well, I don't want to get shot. Yeah, well, it's part of the job. Well, I don't have to do anything to protect an individual, right? Now, Sheriff Judd said that there are too many agencies across the nation that are not prepared to handle a school shooter, but he, and by extension, his department, are not one of them. He says, quote, if you come to a school in this county armed, we're going to do our best through either our guardians, our school resource officers, or our school resource deputy sheriffs to eliminate the threat outside the school before they ever get to the children. We're trained to do that. And then he held up a picture. He said, quite frankly, here's the deal. We're going to charge directly to the threat. There's no mustering. There's no gathering up. We go individually to the threat and engage him. The sheriff said that if they're shooting at us, they're not shooting at the children. Now, we don't want to be shot either, but given the choice of being shot and killed on the ground or there's children dying, we'll die every time. Now, then he held up his picture with two deputies carrying AR-15s. He said, this is the last thing you'll see before we put a bullet through your head if you're trying to hurt our children. We are going to shoot you graveyard dead if you come onto a campus with a gun, threatening our children or shooting at us. How hard is it? Literally, how hard is it to get this into all law enforcement that, yeah, this really is part of your job? And no one wants to get shot, but it's part of what you sign up for. Kind of like when you join the Army or Marines or Navy, you are putting yourself in harm's way. Clearly for not enough money. It's not about making a bunch of money. It just isn't. Right? It just isn't. Being in the military, you're not getting paid enough for what can turn into one of the deadliest jobs ever. Great topic. Thank you for bringing that up. Crazy uncle. Yeah. Now, I've got something here. This sounds pretty unanimous. 3 more bishops have barred Nancy 90 proof Pelosi from receiving Holy Communion due to her support of abortion. So that's up to 4 now. And even though, Whoopi Goldberg, I love just saying her name, it makes me want to vomit. Whoopi Goldberg said, that they shouldn't stop her from getting communion. Hey, she wants babies dead. What part of that sounds religious, spiritual, holy, and everything else? It doesn't. So now 3 more bishops have joined Nancy's and saying, yeah, you shouldn't get it. Sounds unanimous to me. And speaking of Nancy Pelosi, her husband made it into the news cycle just this weekend. He was arrested for driving while under the influence. I think he was up in Napa County, which is the wine country in Northern California. Yes, good old Mr. Pelosi got to wear the silver bracelets. I'm sure Nancy's spokesperson or whatever that thing is that comes out and tries talking to her, I bet there's some problems. I bet there's a lot of frantic phone calls tonight, don't you think? I think so. There's going to be a lot of calls, a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth. I'm sure anyone who gets a call from Nancy is going to be like, eesh, back off, lady. And I really hope that she abuses her authority in a flagrant way. I hope the call is recorded and I hope it gets outed. It would be rather funny, though, if her husband, got to spend a night in jail over the weekend, had to make bail and has to do what everyone else has to do if you get pulled over and you've had a few too many drinks. And even those people that get pulled over who haven't had too many drinks and get arrested anyway because some law enforcement dude's had a rough day and he's going to arrest someone, damn it. I'm sure that whoever has arrested this guy, I'm sure his career is over. Being realistic, folks. We have a country now that have rules for thee, but not for me if I'm a powerful politician. Yep, someone's going to be writing parking tickets in Nome, Alaska by the end of this week. Woo! Anyways, it is the weekend, and folks, when you hit that super chat button, it pays the get the fuck back and stay back bills around here, because that's what I've done. Come back. And we're getting ready, folks. It is getting nastier and nastier and nastier out there. We've got World War III. We got monkeypox. Oh my gosh. Monkeypox to replace cerveza bug for now. Don't worry, cerveza bug will be back in the future. So we have, let's see, World War III, monkeypox, cerveza bug. And then we've got inflation. So you got war, famine, pestilence, all of this is coming. And they will make sure that we pay for it. Now, this is important. Last week, we had the school shooter. The teachers in that school were not armed. Their security system, locked doors, etc., failed. The officer or officers outside the school failed to stop the situation. Apparently, there was more than one threat going on. That's a developing story. But suffice it to say that once the lunatic made it past the outside, past the security and door locking system, and got into the school, there should have been a teacher there, somebody armed, or maybe I should say there could have been. And if that person had been armed and saw this guy walking in with a scary black rifle, it could have been a Hello Kitty pink one. I don't care. You come in the school, you're going to get shot if you are carrying a gun, right? Well, none of the teachers were armed. The police showed up and were busy restraining parents instead of going in, right? When you hear kids being shot, right? If there's shooting going on in a school, you can assume it's a kid that's getting shot. They should have charged in there. I mean, I don't know how you don't do that. You know, if I didn't have a gun and I heard guns going off in a school, I'd want to do something be like, stop me. Because I don't, what do you do, right? If you've got a gun though, that means you've got an equalizing force. You can reach out and touch someone, right? You can stop them and save lives. Well, we all heard about the school shooting, but has everyone heard about the woman who shot dead a crazed lunatic who had an AR-15? Nope. Now, the Charleston Police Department Chief of Detectives, Tony Hazlitt, he said this of the woman who shot dead the crazed lunatic who was spraying bullets into a graduation party. That's right. This guy, he's had some problems with the law in the past. Well, here's what the police chief said. Quote, instead of running from the threat, she engaged with the threat and saved several lives last night. Officers did not go into detail, but said Butler did have an extensive criminal history. Butler was the crazed lunatic who had an AR-15 and was just spraying bullets everywhere and didn't hit anyone. Hazlitt said no charges will be filed against the woman. Why would he say that? No charges will be filed against the woman. Because she saved lives. Apparently, she was carrying the weapon and wasn't licensed as a concealed weapon permit person. But she had the gun. I guess she had it on her. Was able to pull it out and shoot it. Now, it just goes to show you, folks, that an armed population will save others. Imagine how many lives, at least one, maybe more, if not all the lives that could have been saved if one of those teachers was armed and witnessed someone coming through the doors after all kinds of car wreck, altercation, screaming, yelling, and even shooting outside prior to entry into the school. Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. But it's great that we had this counter story that an armed woman saved a bunch of people at a graduation party because some leftist lunatic who had a criminal record decided that he was going to spray everyone down with a bunch of bullets. Funny, AR-15, AR-15, AR-15. They're all left-wing lunatics with AR-15s. Now, the AR-15 is a superb sporting rifle, not an assault rifle. We'll get into that a little bit more later. So here we are, folks. Sunday Night Live. It is Super Chat Sunday. You guys get to pick the messages. You guys get to pick the subjects, the questions, the statements. It's your show, so you can take charge. I'll make you famous. We got Shelly Chavers in with a $5 Super Chat donation. Says, she writes, I was brought up in Texas, and I never thought I would see the day that hill country law enforcement would be cowards. It's quite interesting, is it not? Quite interesting. They look and sound like cowards. Here's how this kind of rolls, right? This is the headline. Hero off-duty Border Patrol agent getting haircut, hears about the shooting, borrows the barber's shotgun, rushed over to the school, drags dozens of kids out of windows, and saves his daughter and wife. Now, this is interesting, folks. This story takes a turn, right? The officer rushed from his barber to the school to rescue his wife and daughter from the tragic scene, right? That's what he was doing. That's why he was ultra heroic. His wife and daughter were there at that school. So 100% fed up, reports, that's a news service, right? Said that the off-duty Customs and Border Protection agent Jacob Alvarado was sitting down for a haircut at his barber when he received a chilling text from his wife. Now, I'm glad he took this emergency seriously and was willing to take action. But now the motive for his heroism is more than apparent. His own wife and daughter were at risk. And the reason I'm bringing this part up now is, why was he allowed in? How did he get in? Why didn't the cops stop him while other parents were being restrained and kept from entering? Why can this guy show up with a shotgun that his barber gave him? Why, folks? Now, are regular citizens allowed to save their children in the future? Because this guy was there to save his child and his wife. Are we allowed to grab any weapon from someone else and use it in the defense of life when regular cops are securing the scene? Right? Yes, this guy is a hero, folks, 100%. Why are we prohibited as non-government employees from being able to be heroes while cops stand around refusing to render aid to people being murdered? You know, and this, what's terrible is, hey, once again, good cops, you're supposed to out the bad cops. Good cops, you're supposed to fix the problems. Good cops, we're relying on you to do the good job. Right? You know, it's all, well, there's one bad cop there and makes the rest of them look bad. Well, good cops, get them all the hell out of there. But, right, I have this last thing to bring up here. Apparently, this guy started shooting. The cop showed up 4 minutes later, and he wasn't stopped for like an hour. How many children's lives could have been saved if the victims weren't bleeding to death from gunshot wounds for an hour while the cops stood around and said, we don't want to get shot? If someone had gone in there right away and eliminated the threat, this bad guy, then any kids that had been shot may have been saved. You see, by stopping others from going in, by not going in themselves, that actually caused more people to be killed. Right? Again, if you can get to somebody first aid on a gunshot wound, right, the odds of them surviving are a lot higher than if they lay around for an hour bleeding to death. It's just, it's heartbreaking to think of it that way. And I haven't heard anyone discuss it that way yet. It's just one of those things, you know, there's someone in there shooting, but people don't die instantly, folks. It takes minutes and it can take hours in some cases. And the sooner you get in there to render first aid, the sooner they can be taken out in an ambulance and the quicker they can be patched up and live. Crazy Uncle is back with a $5 super chat donation. He says, prepper tip, remember that you're eating last year's food. You will not know if it will be a lean year harvest season, right? Prices to go up in October and September. Prices are going to go up way higher, you bet. And we are, folks. We are eating last year's food. And that's the trick, isn't it? We're eating last year's harvest. It could be the year before or the year before that. So I'm going to take what you're talking about, Crazy Uncle, and go 2, 3, 4 years out. If we have a bad harvest this year because Ukraine, and because there's not much fertilizer out there, because they've decided a pissing match with Russia was a better idea than feeding the world. Thanks, NATO. Thanks, Biden. Thanks, United Kingdom. Thanks, European Union, you bunch of jackasses. You're going to cause anguish, terror, starvation, and murder to happen. Good job. But that's okay. We can blame Putin, right? Yeah, so this year we're eating last year's food. Next year, we're all going to have to compete for what is being produced right now. And right now, folks, well, it's late spring. Summer starts June 21st. In 3 weeks, the official summer starts. At the end of summer, that's when most of the harvesting takes place. And if the harvest isn't good, then guess what? Yeah, Food prices are going to go up. The shortages will then really hit. Like the grain that's trying to leave Ukraine, that's last year's grain. Because grain gets sent to the silos and the huge storage facilities. Millions and millions and millions of pounds of grain becomes your wheat, your Cheerios, right? Your grape nuts, your Wheaties, your Malta-Meal, your bread, your pizza dough, all that stuff. Well, if this year is going to be bad because of fuel prices and lack of fertilizer, what do you think is going to happen in 2023, next year? Well, at the end of next year, we're going to be eating 2022's food, but then in 2024, we'll be eating 2023. Do you think we're going to have all our fertilizer back by the end of the year, folks? Do you think fuel prices are going to drop down to half of what they are now? So we're going to have higher food prices. Well, they're already higher and they're going to keep going higher, but we're going to have shortages in 2023. Compound that with even further shortages in 2024. Countries are now saying they're not going to export. I think Hungary is one country. Countries are going to stop exporting what they have because they're not sure if there's going to be enough to feed people in their own countries, etc. What a total mess they have created. Once again, whose fault is this? Whose fault is this? Are we supposed to have a war with Russia and say, now look, Putin, you need to export oil, export natural gas, export grain. You need to export fertilizer. And you're not allowed, right, to refuse. While we try and hurt your country, your people, sanction you, steal your property, and then put mines. That's right, folks. Floating mines, water-based mines that when they come in contact with ships explode. Yeah, that's right, folks. Volodymyr Zelensky, leader of Ukraine, he put over 400 mines into the harbors, bays, and ports around Ukraine. It wasn't the Russians that closed the ports. It was Zelensky. And that has hurt the rest of the world. Zelensky is holding the world hostage, folks. Did you know that? People that want that grain, well, it was stopped by Zelensky, who put the mines in the harbors. Russia did not have blockades. They may have had military ships in the area, but they weren't blockading anything. If anything, and they've been successful, they've been removing the mines, trying to make it safe for merchant marines to take their ships there to transport grain. Right? If Volodymyr Zelensky, if he had not started all of this by antagonizing Putin and violating the agreement that he had with Russia, none of this would have happened. And if he had surrendered right away and said, "Oh, sorry, I blew it. You guys are right. We really messed up." If they had done that, then we wouldn't have this war and we wouldn't have people dying. We wouldn't have grain shipments and other issues and oil and gas and fertilizer. This is Zelensky's fault. All of it, folks. And his, shall we say, puppet masters, people that were telling him what to do. It's quite an unbelievable shit show that they're putting us all down. So thank you again, Crazy Uncle. Great super chat donation topic. And we've got 3Box Op with the $10 super chat donation. And thank you, 3Box Op. He says, this is only the second of many false flag events that will be coming this year. They must solidify their agenda before November. Great topic. Thank you so much. And yes, I'll tell you what, I agree with you. They, meaning the Democrats, they, meaning the Rhino Republicans, they, meaning the powers that be. And that is, folks, the World Economic Forum. They are the Illuminati right there, meeting in the open now, openly declaring their agenda, that they and their community of partners should be making the decisions for all of the countries. We don't need sovereign nations anymore. As globalists, we're here to make sure everything runs smoothly. We get as much money as possible, and the world becomes a better place, right? So who is their buddy? Well, it wasn't Trump, and it's not Putin. So they had to get rid of both and destroy him. Now, what's fascinating, folks, is they, meaning the Democrats and the rhinos, they don't have a platform. They don't have anything worth voting for. They don't. So what are they doing? They're creating situations, bad things are happening, and then it starts the fighting. So Roe v. Wade, that's a perfect thing to bring up. Let's make this election about abortions. Hey, let's make this election about gun control. Let's make this election about, I know what we should make the election about. How about our lives, our freedoms, our liberties? How about the price of gas? How about the availability of diesel? How about food prices, right? How about government doing its damn job for once instead of blaming other people and just taxing the shit out of us and producing nothing, right? Giving us nothing for all the money we pay in taxes. How about that? I think that'd be fine, right? Well, they can't run on that, folks. They can't run a campaign on, look how bad we suck. Look at how Joe has messed up the energy market. Look how Joe said, yeah, we're going to have a painful transition into a world that doesn't rely on fossil fuels. Well, it would have been great if that was his political campaign he ran on last time, and he didn't. It's just day one that became his issue. Folks, it was always going to be the issue, but they don't want to campaign on that. They won't campaign and say, look, we're going to triple your fuel price in the next 2 years. People would say the fuck you will and not vote for him. You know, the Democrats, they love to hand out your money to their people. Right? That's one of the things they love to do. They don't have anything. I mean, who's going to say, yeah, Joe Biden and the Democrats, taxes, higher fuel prices, less rights, more government, you bet, more regulation, no baby formula, higher prices on food, can't get the shit I need. I love that kind of America. They can't run on that, but that's all they got. So they have to have these wedge issues, these divisive issues like gun control and Roe versus Wade and free speech, folks. As we get closer to this election, expect there to be more on free speech. They can't have it. It's way too dangerous to them. And that's what's incredible is who's really being hurt by free speech? Yeah. Only liars, cheats, and stealers, right? Thieves. That would be the Democrats. Thank you very much for that super chat donation, right? These people have nothing, folks. Now, a reporter confronted Beto O'Rourke outside of the NRA convention. That's right. Beto O'Rourke is continuing to put his face out there, asking for people to look at him and listen to his shit. So a journalist said, he did a tweet. He said, today, Beto O'Rourke, I confronted him and asked him why he decided to exploit dead kids. He refused to give me an answer. He sure seems big and bold on stage, but when confronted, he won't even look at me. That's how these people are, folks. They're a bunch of cowards. They grandstand and they use the mainstream media to get their agenda out there. What would you do if you saw Beto O'Rourke or Joe Biden or Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer? Would you say something real to them? Like, quote, how do you feel exploiting dead kids? Kamala Harris? Right? I mean, I wish someone would say to Kamala, how does it feel knowing that you got violent rioters and looters out of jail and then you encourage them to do more of the same? How does that make you feel? Right? How would you like someone doing that in your neighborhood or your mom's neighborhood? Oh, yeah. This is really important. It is Sunday Night Live, folks. It is Memorial Day. I'm glad to be here with you. We're going to go for 2 hours tonight, unless we get crazy. And it's all crazy is always up to you guys. But it's up to the super chat donations right up here. Right? Super chat donations is what pays the bills, keeps the lights on. Right now, I'm not in the bunker. Right now, I'm at dear old mom's celebrating Memorial Day weekend, enjoying myself as much as I can, trying not to think too much about all this shit, right? Trying not to worry too much and trying to enjoy life, folks. And still, To the extent you can, enjoy life, but just get prepared. Now, we got Mr. Skylight checking in with a $99.99 super chat donation. Thank you, Mr. Skylight. And this is what he says. Thank you for your service to our country, brother. Semper Fi. Pooh, Semper Fi, I tell you what. To all Marines, soldiers, airmen, and sailors, as well as to our brothers in the Coast Guard, right? The National Guard, everyone around the world who loves freedom and liberty. And if you don't love freedom and liberty, well, then you're scum. That's all there is to it. Mr. Skylight, I love your patriot founding father quotes. If you would get one of those for us also, get it to Jolene and we'll get it on the air. I love it when you do quotes. It always pumps me up, right? Anyways, thank you there, Mr. Skylight. Your donation and the donation of others is what keeps us here in front of the camera working. I don't sweat the small things as much when you guys are here with me on Sunday Night Live. You guys keep me inspired and you keep me going, right? Otherwise, I'd be a candle in the wind, right? Wind blow and I'd be gone chasing work. But that's how life is, right? And I love being here with you guys. It's one of those things that I think I've gotten good at after 10 years of this. Oh, by the way, I am working with a syndicated radio network. We're in the process of doing some negotiating, and this could get good. It's going to take it a while to pick up some speed. I guess I'm going to come on as a guest on a couple of shows and maybe pick up a time slot. Folks, the mission has always been the same, and that is that you and I, that's right, you guys are always part of the show. Our mission is to get people prepared, to educate ourselves, to share information with others. We're here from camaraderie and learning. And we're trying to expand as much as we can and do as many different audiences as we can. So as I get information, I'll get it out there. If I get some scheduled airtime, we're always trying to reach new markets and expand. Now, apparently this company, can't name it at the time until we get some kind of deal set up. They like the Prepared Mind message, right? They see the value in it. And that is absolutely terrific. Now, I got someone else who has a message, and there's a lot of value in it. It is Senator Rand Paul. And he had this to say, folks. Elitists want a one world government. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's like, what? Welcome to the party, pal. Yeah, Rand Paul. We've been saying that. Me, you, all you guys in the audience. We've been saying that for years. The elites want a one world government. Who are the elites? The World Economic Forum, the Bilderbergers. They go by many names, folks, but they're all the same people. These are politicians who are willing, wanting, and waiting to sell out, to get paid millions of dollars to screw you over. That's right. The Davos douches, the Bilderbergs, the Club of Rome, the Trilateral Commission, right? The banking cartel, the international corporate cartels, right? It's not a conspiracy theory. Rand Paul, Senator Rand Paul is correct. They do want a one world government, and I'm glad that he's finally joined the party. Isn't it amazing, folks, that when things get bad enough, we finally get some admission. We finally get some admission that, yeah, this doesn't quite look right. Doesn't quite seem right. We're thinking. Woo, wait a minute there. Had a computer goof up. There we go. We're back. We had a little goof up there. Wink, wink, nod, nod, say no more. Rand Paul says the elites want a one world government. What do you guys think of that? When not Alex Jones, but, a real United States senator says that. It tells us we've been right all along. What else have we been right about, folks? What else have we been on the spot about? Right? I just did my little computer glitch there thing to give you guys, right? It's a conspiracy, right? It's all a show. It's a sham. It's all a big lie.
It's all just a big joke. It's a joke.
That's a clip from one of my favorite movies of all time called Dark City. It's all just a big joke to these people. Well, you see higher gas prices, higher food prices, food availability. None of that matters, folks. None of that matters to the super elite and the wealthy. They can get all the fuel they need. And oh my gosh, it's going to cost them $20,000 to fly to the next Davos meeting instead of $10,000 in fuel. Oh, what a terrible shame. That's nothing, folks, when they're making billions of dollars a year. Yeah. Would you spend $10,000 extra or $20,000 if you were going to be guaranteed $1 billion? Well, hell yeah, I'd go out and borrow all kinds of money if I could get that kind of return. Whew. I mean, so what do you think, right? Are we in the midst of a giant conspiracy theory? Well, and here's the deal that's really kind of biting. Is it's a conspiracy theory full of conspiracy fact. The theory is now supported. It's still a theory, I guess, but it's supported by fact. And we're continuing to get more and more facts. Now, here is an interesting little factoid. And by the way, we're up over 500 people live. We're at just about 50 minutes. We're coming up on our first hour. 500 people live on Memorial Day. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. Holy cow. Thank you, everyone, for showing up on Memorial Day to spend some time with friends, Americans, lovers of liberty, to talk about SHTF, our country, our republic. And we are the last bastion of freedom, folks. You and I, us, Americans, we're the last bastion of freedom in a world full of dictators and thugs. And we've got Box Op with a $100 super chat donation. He says 2 hours. Hell, let's go 4 hours. So much to talk about. We have only just begun. Oh, I hear you, man. I'll go until I run out of energy and fall out of the chair. But yes, thank you so much. That was a super generous donation, Box Op. I appreciate it. We'll go for the 2 hours at least. But there is an awful lot to talk about, folks. An awful lot to talk about. And thank you for splashing that one up there and scaring the shit out of me, Jolene. We also have here, by the way, in addition to Jolene, we've got Uman in the background. Always got Uman. We're here. We've got over 500 people. We've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of comments. We got Jungle Jim, the Cat Slave, Mass Effect, Al Bundy, Patriot, Mike, Robert Hammock, Uncontrolled Speech, Juan Yankee. There's all kinds of people. Whiskey. We got all kinds of people here, folks. And you can come and join us in the chat. You can. You can ask questions. Hit that super chat donation button and ask questions. There's a PayPal donation button up there. There's a lot of different ways you can support our efforts here. And there is, as Box Op says, an awful lot to talk about. This Texas shooting continues to be a huge deal. The Texas governor came out and he was livid, after he was misled about the police response in Uvalde, right? And the claim that I don't want to get shot, right? There is going to be some big consequences that come out of this shooting. One of them, the one that won't happen, is gun control. They will not be taking our guns. What is going to happen is we need to take a really hard look at who's protecting the children. Right? Should be the teachers, should be the police. And there's going to be a call, folks. The police, yeah, you actually, people are going to decide, do we want police if they're not going to run in and face danger? Right? We may as well have social workers if the guys with guns aren't going to use them to stop the bad guys. What a strange world we live in. It's absolutely a strange world. Right? Very crazy. Yeah, the governor's pissed off. A lot of people are pissed off over what has happened and hasn't happened. But we're being distracted, folks. We really are. Heidi checks in with a $10 super chat donation. I hope everything's going well. Heidi. She says, I wonder how much of the sick food animals are headed for a freezer below in the tunnels. Ooh, that's an interesting question, because there's a lot of sick animals out there. Millions of chickens are just being destroyed because of, their sickness. Or could it be that this food is going to be processed, canned, frozen, battered, and sent into deep freezers below in the tunnels? Now, what she's talking about, folks, are the continuity of government. COG is continuity of government. Did you know that your government is planning for Armageddon? That it has years and years worth of food stacked up in tunnels, caves, these secret areas where they're going to go to in case of World War III and things become very bad? That's right, folks. Continuity of government. It's not continuity of freedoms and liberty. It's government, right? The administrative and regulatory apparatus is making sure that they're well cared for, that they eat, right? You bet. There's a lot of talk about this monkeypox. Oh yeah, but they haven't managed to scare us yet with a bunch of dead people. But some people they're jumping on the fear train and trying to make it sound that way. We got a lot of trouble, folks. We got a lot of hoax and a lot of pandemic going on. And whoops, speaking of that, and thank you, Heidi, very much. I hope everything's well up in the Great White North. We've got a big whoops. The pandemic liars kind of messed up. There was another hoax, folks, and the hoax wasn't perpetrated by some right-wing white supremacist lunatics. Nope. The hoax was perpetrated by some false claims. The Florida, down in that great state of Florida, those guys over there caused more trouble. The Florida IG said, quote, there was insufficient evidence for a whistleblower's claim that Florida manipulated cerveza bug data. I know this is kind of a blast from the past. Like a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago back then, there was this whistleblower from Florida said, Florida's lying. Florida's lying. There's a lot more cerveza bug there than they're saying. They're lying about their numbers. They're lying about their data. Now, I thought at that time, well, so what we need to do is have some data looked at. Right? We do. Yeah, we need to have the data looked at and studied, and then it needs to come out. I think someone like Governor Abbott would be livid over the real cerveza bug data. Right? The claim was that Florida manipulated their data to say there was less infection. Right? I'm starting to wonder, when are we going to have our investigation to prove that the data has been manipulated to hide the fact that it wasn't hardly deadly at all? We're going to find out, right? We're going to find out. But ultimately, who's going to be made the fool, right? The fool or the billionaires who fooled them? Well, the billionaires, they still got their dollars. And it's not looking good for us as far as getting the information out. I mean, that's what we're here for, folks. We don't want to be censored. We don't want to be silenced. A lot of people don't realize, folks, that we are being censored. We are being silenced. I can't just come out and say what I want. In fact, they're trying to pass laws to stop that. Right? There's states that are trying to pass laws for free speech. There's states like California that are trying to pass laws to silence people, to make misinformation a crime. Having an opinion that differs from the recognized authority figure known as government, that's not a crime, but they want to make it a crime. And they've been doing this for a long time, folks, silencing us. There's so much censorship out there. People from other countries, folks, come to the United States of America and go, we can't believe how controlled you guys are. Isn't that funny? Because we have this impression, this idea that we're absolutely free to do what we want and say what we want and go where we want. Not true. Not true. It is only when examined through the eyes of someone who isn't controlled the way we are that you can see things a little differently. Yeah, but we were told, yeah, Florida, they're lying about their numbers. Well, knowing what you and I know. And if you're on Patreon, folks, Patreon, it's $2 a day. That's $2 a month, 7 cents a day. Really, you times 7 cents by 31 days, you come up with $2. When you read the real information on Patreon, we share all kinds of articles, data, video, everything we can on Cerveza bug and the numbers and the Jim Jones juice and the boosters and how many people. We have a lot of data over there, a lot of information, a lot of websites have been stored up. And it's interesting. We know who the liars are now, and it's not me and you, it's them. But we're not allowed to say anything because, you know, we're the bad guys, apparently.
Have you any idea how successful censorship is on TV? Don't know the answer? Successful, isn't it?
Very successful. You and I don't get to talk about what we want, right? TV won't talk about anything that we want. All right, let's get to the next super chat donation. And we've got Opie Waddell checking in with a $5 super chat. He says, Jungle Fever Juice. Test politicians first. If they survive, the vaccines are safe. If they don't, the country is safe. Hey, I kind of like that idea. Now, jungle fever. Don't forget what that is. Monkeys live in a jungle. and a pox creates a fever. So monkeypox, jungle fever. So if we're going to have an anti-jungle fever concoction, it's jungle fever juice. There we go. Opie Waddell bringing in his dry sense of humor. But yeah, we should test everything on politicians. Hey, politicians, you want us to take a medication? Then you take it first, your spouses, your children, your grandchildren. And no placebo, no bullshit, no fake syringe like Boris Johnson got. No, folks. Everything they do is for show and show only. It really is. It really is. Everything is a big show. We got the Bar 70 with a 556 super chat donation. He says, your choice of topics. Uh-oh. Yeah, the Bar 70 giving me a choice? Well, I'll tell you what. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. Gun control, the Second Amendment. It is a huge deal right now. They just don't seem to get it. They just don't seem to get it. They look past all the facts. They look past history. They look past reality. And they don't see why the Second Amendment was created. Once you see why it was created and you look at history, you understand it. Not just history from 1776 backwards, but history from 1776 or 1789, if you want to, for the Constitution itself. It has been explained again and again by history that the people need to have the ability to protect their country and protect themselves. But the left doesn't care. Except when they have the guns and the police are theirs and the military is theirs, then they'll use them for whatever they want. Then a gun becomes a good thing. So, fuck your guns, murderers. You know, left-wing ding-dogs gathered outside the 2022 NRA convention in Houston. My satirical response was, yeah, as soon as they were done protesting, they went and got abortions. The reason I say that is they've been calling Republicans and gun owners baby murderers. Have you gone out and murdered any babies? I doubt it. Have you gone out and murdered children? Once again, I doubt it. I myself have done neither. But Democrats do that all the time. They do. But they want to tell you, F your guns, murderers, you're murderers. Let's see. Let's follow the logic, right? If you gave a gun to somebody who used it in a crime, You're the murderer. Okay, I can see, saying you have a responsibility, right? If you had nothing to do with it, then how can you be responsible? Right? Who is responsible in this country? Right? How many people are killed by guns every year, folks? Do you know how many thousands it is? It's a few thousand. And in most cases, those people that have been killed with guns are, in fact, criminals who were violent. Now, how many people have died of drug overdose? That's right. Opioids, fentanyl. Look out, folks. Tens of thousands. How many people's lives are ruined because they make bad decisions, get hooked on drugs, and destroy their own world, destroy their own lives, especially, right? If they don't kill themselves, they destroy their health long term. Hundreds of thousands every year, folks. It is an epidemic, the drug problem. Where are the drugs coming in? Oh, yeah, across the southern border. Thank you, Joe Biden. That's right, folks. You want more drugs in this country? You want the drug cartels happier than ever? Just keep supporting Joe Biden. Keep supporting Democrats in Washington, D.C., because they love drugs, apparently, because they're allowing it. They share responsibility. Just as if you gave a gun and said, here you go, criminal, why don't you go do some stuff with this, right? You would share some responsibility. You wouldn't be the murderer, but you would share responsibility. Well, President Biden, you want that border open? You're sharing responsibility. The Democrat Party, folks, is responsible for all of the drugs in our country. I love that topic. Thanks very much, man. I appreciate the support. And all of you guys who are doing super chat donations, thank you so much. And here's another one. We got Warren Johns with a $5 super chat. It's a super sticker. Thank you so much, man. You guys over in the comments section, you can see that. I really appreciate it. Keeping us going and going and going. Warren Johns, $5 super sticker. We got Jody Bryant, Jason Smith, Patriot, The Bar, Al Bundy, Whiskey, Tico, Juan Yankee says, Mikey, the comment section is just rolling with people. And we've got, I think, more. We got Martin Thorne with a $10 super chat donation. Thank you so much, Martin Thorne. I appreciate that. And here's what he says. Was Ray Liotta jabbed? Asking for a theorist. Hey. I bet he's a conspiracy theorist. Seriously, though, was Ray Liotta jabbed? Ray Liotta, folks, a very famous actor. He's played in a lot of very popular movies. The most popular, of course, was Goodfellas. But he's this kind of creepy guy with some creepy eyes. And he's just a fabulous actor. He's dead. Even when he played Shoeless Joe Jackson in Field of Dreams, a baseball player, ghost that came out of the cornfield, he was still kind of just creepy asshole. Anyways, Ray Liotta, he was, I think, in his 50s. And he just died. Now, you're asking, was he jabbed? There's a lot of speculation that he was, right? Most Hollywood actors are left-wingers. And Ray, I think, kept his politics out, but he always seemed to play a thug or something. He played a wise guy, that is to say, a henchman for the mafia in Goodfellas. It's a great movie. It had Ray Liotta and Robert De Niro, another fantastic left-wing a-hole. And then, of course, Joe Pesci. Everyone loves Joe Pesci. It was a great movie. But was he jabbed or not? We've had a lot of people just dying. And we used to go, celebrities die in threes. Well, we've had celebrities, sports stars. I believe we lost Hank Aaron shortly after the Jim Jones juice came out. We lost a lot of sports stars, and we've lost a lot of super athletes. Right. And by super athletes, I don't mean that they were super good. I mean that they're super athletes, folks. You don't have to be the number one bicyclist in the world dropping out of the Tour de France or some other bike race. All those athletes, folks, are super athletes, whether they finish first or 100th. Just to be at that level, it's incredible. Sports players, soccer or European football, They're keeling over left and right. Tennis players, other athletes gone, toast, poof. You know, there's quite a bit going on. I mean, what do you say? You know, Ray Liotta gone. Well, you know, he said, I don't know much about his politics. He didn't seem to talk a whole lot about that I ever noticed, but just rather suspicious. Oh, Bruce Willis, also gone. He just happened to have a brain disease that seemed to be associated with the symptoms that come up with, that's right, Jim Jones juice side effects. No more Bruce Willis. And as you all know, I love to say, welcome to the party, pal. I've already done it once in this show, because every time a famous person, a celebrity, a politician, the light just kind of comes on and they're like, yeah, freedom, liberty, whoops. In fact, this came to me the other day. I thought, whatever happened to Kevin Sorbo? He was doing a lot of tweets a while back. And yeah, all of a sudden he's not out there anymore. James Woods, I know, is still doing some tweets. And these guys, Kevin Sorbo, James Woods, are conservative types. You know, that's why they don't have roles on TV anymore. And Bruce Willis, you know, he, well, all the old action heroes from the 80s and 90s, they just kind of went away. You know, I have to make room for the new. I guess I can't have action heroes making movies for me every year to satisfy my desire to see the bad guys getting shot up and American values being upheld. Well, there you have it. Anyways, you got Shelly Chavers with a $5 super chat donation, and says, Jody, my husband says you need a shot, and he's not talking about immunizations. I need a shot? I'm at my mom's house. You guys want me to be drinking in front of my mom? I have to go put her to bed first. It looks like we got a $50 super chat donation. Oh, there it is too. Okay. See, that's what I get for that. I need to get a shot. There we go. All right. Let's see. We got some of my mom's Bacardi and a little shot glass here. Don't want to spill it. To everybody. Okay. Oh my God. Lemon. This would be my mom's stuff. All right. Let's not get too crazy. We got Shelly Chavers with a $5 super chat donation. Jody, my husband, says you need a shot, and he's not talking immunizations. Well, I just immunized myself against probably a number of things. Anyways, $3 Op is back with another $50 super chat donation. Unbelievable. And he says, just FYI, that's for your information. $3 Op stands for our current predicament. Ballot box, soap box, and finally the bullet box. To wit, we are getting closer and closer to the latter. I tell you what, it's really a good way to describe it. I came up with something earlier that I wanted to talk about. And it kind of goes along the lines of your $3 Op. It's where you start and where you finish, right? It's where things start and how things finish. As you're saying, ballot box, soap box, and finally the bullet box, right? It's the ballot box. It's where we secretly, quietly, right? Voting is secret. You secretly say what you think. And then there's the soap box where we get up and we start talking about shit, right? We debate, and we should be able to freely debate. That's called the First Amendment. And then if that fails, if all else fails, you go to the bullet box. Now, when I read $3 Op, I always think of a 3-Lock Box by Sammy Hagar, but completely different story there. Anyways, what reminds you or reminds me $3 Op and kind of carries that idea forward is today, Vice President Camel Toes Harris came out and demanded a ban on all assault weapons. And she said, quote, "An assault weapon is a weapon of war." End quote. So brilliant. Oh my God, so concise. An assault weapon is a weapon of war. Well, folks, wars always start with words and they end in bullets. So Kamala's words, as far as I'm concerned, are worse than an assault rifle, because assault rifles are used in a war, right? It's a weapon of war. Well, that means some politician like Kamala started that war with words, because wars always start with words and they always end in bullets. That's my quote of the day, by the way. Guns don't start wars, they finish wars. How's that, huh? How's that? Folks, Kamala's an idiot. When we ban words, then only bullets are left to settle the argument. Because guns don't start wars, folks. Right? They finish them. Hence the First Amendment. So we can use words to solve problems. And bullets are for a failure to adhere to common sense. Because one side, folks, when they won't listen to common sense, we end up, right, with words of war. Then we end up with bullets using to finish it off. Camel hose words, folks, are dangerous. They're provocative. She has a First Amendment right, and so do I. Assault rifles, folks, are part of an evolution of warfare. Originally, it was an assault rock. Then there was an assault sling to throw the rock from further distance at your enemy. Then the assault spear. Oh, it was bigger. It was more insidious and dangerous looking. You could use it and reuse it at short range or throw it at long range. The assault spear. And then finally, a smooth bore assault musket. That's right, folks. All of these are assault weapons. When they're used in a war, right? Making our way forward, a hand-powered repeating Winchester assault rifle came along. So you could fire bullet after bullet by working the lever. Oh my gosh. And then we moved to the more modern auto-feeding single shot sporting rifle, today known as the AR-15 or one of its variants. But that, folks, that's not an assault rifle by definition. No, it is not. It's not an assault rifle by definition. The modern assault rifle is far different than a sporting rifle, the AR-15, which is the assault rifle is defined as a weapon capable of firing multiple rounds at one time by depressing the trigger and holding it back. We commonly call it a machine gun or a full auto rifle, right? Full auto machine gun. Totally different than the AR-15, which is a single shot sporting rifle. It just looks scary. Well, I'll tell you what looks scary to me, Kamala Harris. I'll tell you something else that looks scary to me, Chuck Schumer, Hillary Clinton. You bet. Joe Biden, that looks scary to me. Nancy Pelosi, Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, they're all pretty damn scary. Madeleine Albright, she's dead. I bet she still looks scary. She didn't get any better, that's for sure. Anyways, yeah, quote of the day. Guns don't start wars, folks. They finish wars. Now, what's the point? What is a weapon of war? Well, it's a tool used by those engaged in the war. Now, why do we have war? Well, we have war because there's a dispute between people, tribes, nations. There's a dispute. So you have talks. You have talks. Bad kitties. We have talks. When the talks don't work, you end up with a cat fight. You end up with a cat. When words don't fix things, right, you end up in a fight. You have to use the best weapons possible. You have to have the best trained people. That's why we have a professional military now, right? But in the event that fails, folks, then they go to a draft. But if your country's invaded, now here we are, right? If your country's invaded, then the people should stand up and defend themselves and their country. Didn't that just happen in Ukraine? Aren't we supposed to be rooting for the Ukraine people? the people of Ukraine defending themselves against an invading force from Russia. And what is the first thing that they did? They turned to America and the rest of the world and say, please send us your weapons, send us your ammunition, your guns, your military supplies. Right. If the people of Ukraine were allowed to have rifles and ammunition, they could have defended themselves better and quicker against the Russians. So let's see. What if Russia or China invades our country? Are we going to ask Ukraine to send us weapons? Are we going to sit around and wait for Ukraine and Lithuania and Estonia and Finland and Sweden and, I don't know, Romania? Are they going to send us weapons? No, of course not. Ridiculous. That's why we have weapons in America, is in case we get invaded, we become the fighting force. And if we're invaded by a domestic enemy, you know, modern terrorists, Antifa, BLM, and they start committing acts of terror, sedition, treason, and oh yeah, insurrection. We, the people, should be here to defend our country and our states and our cities and our towns and our schools and ourselves. Unbelievable. Kamala just made the point that we should stay armed, folks. And not only should we have our sporting rifles, but perhaps we should be allowed to have assault weapons, because it is a weapon of war, and weapons of war are used to protect countries that are invading others. Thanks, Kamala. You're all right. Oh my gosh. These people are fruitcakes. Absolute fruitcakes. We got Crazy Uncle back with a $5 super chat donation. He says, when rendering first aid, always deal with arterial bleeds first. You have 60 seconds with any arterial bleed, 3 to 5 minutes to restart breathing. So what he's saying there is doing mouth to mouth, getting breathing restarted with chest compressions, while necessary, isn't going to do any good if somebody bleeds out. So you always stop the bleeding first. An arterial bleed is usually designated by spurting, right? Because the heart in a traumatic situation beats very hard and very fast, and will pump a body dry in less than 60 seconds. So yeah, if you see blood squirting, look out. You got to tie that off with a tourniquet. First aid, folks. Taking first aid lessons, good idea. I've never been the hugest first aid trainer. I don't go and train for first aid all the time. Probably something I should touch up on, though. And we were always taught in the service, and I always wondered, why aren't we supposed to apply a tourniquet to the neck? It's a joke. I know why. But yeah, first aid, critical. Stop bleeding first, then move on to heart and breathing. Quite interesting that I thought about this earlier, how they used to say, well, if you stop breathing, then your brain starts to die like 10 seconds later, and you're good as dead in just a few seconds. I guess they're finding out that that's not always the case, that oftentimes there's just enough blood flowing through the system to keep the brain alive. So do your best. Anyways, I would recommend, since I'm not a doctor or a medical expert or a first aid instructor, to go get that type of training. It's probably a great idea to have that, because we're going to have some nasty times coming. We genuinely are. Okay, Jolene, who do we got now? We've got Alexander Adams with a $5 super chat donation. 556, no less. My favorite number. He says, kind of a fun one, and you seem to like history. If you had to be part of any military group in history besides the U.S., which would you choose? Well, by golly. So if I didn't want to be a member, what military would I want to be a part of? It would have been really fascinating, I think, to ride with Genghis Khan, to go from China all the way to the steppes of Russia, down to, the the Eastern European continent. Just would have been amazing. The miles you would have put on the horse you had, the different peoples you would have come across, and I would have slaughtered. It's really, Genghis Khan was conquering a lot of land. That would have been just an incredible thing to see. And the reason I say that is there's so many peoples that are connected. You got the European people connected to the Russian territory, to China, to India, to the Arab nations, and all those stands. There's an incredible ethnic mix up through Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan, and all of those stand countries. You've got a mix where peoples from the Middle East and Northern Africa came together with people from India and Southeast Asia. But yeah, that would have been an interesting one. Let's see, another military to have been a part of in history. Probably another one that would have been just fascinating to be with would be the Roman army, I guess. I mean, they did vary from all the way from the north of England at Hadrian's Wall. They were all the way up in Germany. They were across over in Turkey. Some of that eastern, they went around all the Mediterranean, basically anything that touched the Mediterranean. Now, if you really like history, you'd be fascinated to understand or to learn that they found shipwrecks off the coast of South Africa and of some of their rivers, of Roman biremes, Phoenician ships. There's quite a bit of history that's been glossed over and covered over and lied about. So yeah, to be part of the Roman Empire's navy, and if they came out the Straits of Gibraltar, to know where they went, I think would be just absolutely fascinating. And for me, I think, why would Rome, just think about this for a minute, why would Rome give a shit about England? They've got to travel from Rome, Italy, all the way north into France and all the way through France. And at northern France, it starts getting kind of cold. And then they get to the English Channel. When they look across the English Channel, and they're like, there's another country over there. Let's go all the way across that, and then start screwing with these freaking barbarians and Scotsmen in England. Why would they go through all that trouble when they could have gone further east? It would have been fewer miles to go further east into Turkey and head over to those more exotic lands to the east. Probably would have been better trade, better trade routes, better, longer established trades. You would think it would have been better. They would have been better off that way. Quite possibly sailing up into the Black Sea region a little bit further. I mean, they were already in Constantinople, Turkey, Istanbul. You could have gone up there, and they could have traded with the early peoples, the Russians. They weren't Russians back then, but anyways, just my stuff. Being with the Roman Navy, I think would have been great to sail past the Pillars of Hercules. Okay, if we shall, let us move on before I get wound down that road too much. We got $3 off with a $5 super chat donation. You are the donator of the day, man. He says, if I had a weapon that looked like Schumer or Pelosi, I would be arrested for having a weapon of mass destruction. Think about it. That's pretty freaking funny. My mom just laughed. Yeah. A weapon of mass. What is a weapon of mass destruction? What is destruction? Destruction is, it's not a complicated word. Stuff is destroyed. When something's destroyed, it can't be fixed again, right? Yeah. And a weapon, right, is the thing that makes it happen. Is Biden a weapon of mass destruction because he destroyed our energy security, our energy independence? Well, it would appear that he has destroyed that. He's destroyed not only our domestic energy production, but he's destroyed the relationships we've had with other oil producers. The princes of Arabia have not been willing to talk to the United States diplomats. Now, there's some claim that they've fixed the problem with Saudi Arabia, and Biden and his administration and the European Union are continuing to beg the Middle East, please produce more oil, please. I'm wondering. I'm really wondering, folks, if they're intentionally doing this because there is an oil shortage that's coming. If you recall the theory of peak oil, and I know there's going to be a lot of people come out with that abiotic oil. There's so much oil, whether there is or not, we aren't going to know if they are shutting that all down. This is incredible what's going on, because it seems to be completely ridiculous. Look, if there's all the oil that we would ever need for hundreds of years and we just have to go get it, it's right there. But instead, we want to go with carbon-free energy because there's a climate crisis. Okay, there's a climate crisis. Of course, I don't believe that shit for a second, because we've had ice ages where the freaking planet freezes over, except for, Georgia, Florida, and below. Right? And then it thaws and gets warmer, and then we get more freezing, and then it thaws and gets warmer. Humans, did they cause all that? I don't think so, because we're supposed to be a bunch of caveman Neanderthals back then, and Denisovans, and maybe some Cro-Magnons, and yeah. So the Earth goes through cycles. There's no climate crisis that we have caused. Certainly no way we can fix things. But if you could put that question back up, Jolene. There's a point in there I wanted to get to. Your shit has hit the fan, folks, and this weapon of mass destruction. Why wouldn't they just get the technology and put it in place first? Okay, is wind and solar the answer? Well, get it put in place and then turn off the oil. Well, okay, if we can't get enough wind and solar because the amount of kilowatts per acre is too low, we would have to cover the entire country of the United States of America, for example, with solar panels to ensure we had enough electricity for year-round baseload power. Right? Okay, so if that's not going to work, then, well, we need nuclear power plants. Okay, if that's the case, we need molten salt reactors, we need nuclear fusion, and then we got fission reactors now. They want future because it's cleaner, supposedly, yada, yada, yada. And they're still making fantastic claims. And the experts say we're still decades away from being able to have cold fusion or nuclear fusion. It's not available. Okay, well, then we'll just use regular nuclear until we get there. But why not get all of the energy in place? If we're going to electrify America and the world, and cars and scooters and motorcycles, and everything is going to run off of electricity, let's get the infrastructure in place, the power generation, and then the wires. Got to have the wires to transmit everywhere. Let's get everything in place, and then then turn off the oil spigots. So why is it that they're turning off the oil spigots first, putting us in all this pain, causing prices to go up, and then saying, well, it's going to be a painful transition. Enjoy it, motherfuckers. Thanks a lot, Biden. Yeah, these people are weapons of mass destruction. Or are we really just running out of oil and they're using this as a cover story? Well, hell, they lie about everything else. Why not just lie and say, something else? But this is the story we've gotten. This is the way they're taking things, right? So that's the story we have to deal with. I've got this here, right? Putin is cutting back oil exports. There was this whole thing where Europe was going to punish, Russia. Hey, Russia, we don't need your oil and gas anymore. F you. Well, Putin is cutting stuff back now. It's going to cause oil, according to some experts, to hit $150 a barrel. Well, we went from about 50 to 100, and it looks like we're going to be on our way to 150. I guess we're all going to just have electric skateboards, and you can go, 1, maybe 2 miles before your battery runs out. That's what America is going to be reduced to, folks. Essentially, cart and horse. If your car, who's going to be able to afford a car that goes 200, 300 miles if it's going to cost you $60, $70, $80,000? That's in today's dollars. I'm sure in a couple of months, it's going to be $100,000 with inflation. These people are nuts, right? So Russia seems to be in the driver's seat, literally, because they have all the fuel they need, energy, oil, gasoline, diesel. But Putin, folks, we've been saying all along that he's in the driver's seat. They're sending more oil than ever to China and India. Record amounts of oil are going there from Russia. That means they're not coming here, folks. They're not coming to Europe. They're not coming to America. I told you all along, Putin is going to be just fine in all of this. So Putin and Russia, they're actually making more money because, their crude oil is now valued at double what it was before, set to go to triple. Isn't that amazing? While we don't have it and we suffer, and we're going to be back to cart and horse. Putin says, hey, guess what, Zelensky? We're now ready for you. We're ready for, quote, serious negotiations. But Putin goes on to say that the weapons provided by the West are destabilizing the situation. What does that mean? The Western destabilization of Ukraine. What he's saying is we got a problem, folks. Got a big problem, right? And I'm not going to blame the West. How about this? The World Economic Forum. That's the West. It should be the Western Economic Forum because it's just Western corporations and Western banks. Are they the ones pulling the strings? Once again, it was none other than Henry Kissinger, Secretary of State for none other than the notorious Richard Milhouse Nixon presidency, the early 70s. He was around then. He said, hey, look, it's time to cede the war. It's time to give up. It's time to surrender. Right? And Putin does want to accept Zelensky's surrender. But he says these Western arms are destabilizing the situation. How about the West's encouragement of the fight? Now, what did we predict just a couple of days ago? That sometime in the next 2 weeks to 4 weeks, Zelensky's going to have to give up. He's going to have to. Right? Well, I know we made that prediction. And then lo and behold, on Memorial Day weekend, Zelensky has signaled that Donbass could soon fall and that it's, quote, incredibly difficult, right, because of the Russian onslaught. Can you believe that? They're onslaughting them, folks. Now, here's a message for Zelensky. How hard is that? Hey, Zelensky, surrender. You're losing. You've been losing from the beginning. Your lies and bullshit and begging and accusations. Zelensky sounds like Greta Thunberg, Greta the Climate Grinch. How dare you, right? And I think Zelensky's going to lose here, folks. He's about to lose Donbass. He's going to lose all of Eastern Europe. And the weekend before the weekend we're in now, Henry Kissinger was saying, it's time to cede things before we make things so bad with Russia. It hurts us in the long run, right? It hurts us too much. Well, they really need to make sure Putin is the bad guy forever. But they do want to have their backdoor deals, their ability to get Russian resources. See, it's a strange world, folks, when your enemy that you're at war with is also a business partner. That is to say, they want to trade with the enemy. Right. There's no doubt that Donbass is going to fall and that the Russians are going to win. That is to say, folks, that the Ukraine Azov atrocity committing military of Ukraine is failing and the Russians are going to defeat them soundly. Zelensky is going to have to concede, folks, cede or surrender at some point very soon. The other option is for Russia just to push Ukraine completely out of Donbass in eastern Ukraine, and then put up a wall or a fence and say, you lose, stay out. There is no peace between us. There won't be any peace between us. You're on the outside now. But there's some other problems here. There really are some other problems. The Russian oil pipelines go through Ukraine. And I don't know, folks, if the whole world is going to be satisfied, the European world especially, if they don't have some measure of control. Because if I were the Russians, I would put a meter on the Russian side and say, we're sending through 1 billion gallons, 1 billion gallons of oil today. And I don't care what comes out the other end of the pipe. Once it leaves Russia, 1 billion gallons, you, Europe, owe us. And so if, let's just say, 50 million of those billion gallons get, siphoned off by Ukraine and put in their own barrels and kept, I don't think the world is going to appreciate that. I think they have that problem down in Niger, where, they're pumping incredible amounts of crude oil. It's going to China, by the way. Incredible amounts of oil there. And by the time it reaches the end of the pipeline, it's most of it's been stolen. There's pirates everywhere, folks. Sometimes they fly the flag of a country, and other times not so much. We got Matty G with a $2 super chat donation. He's down here. He says, I don't catch your stream enough. Here's $2. Thanks, Matty. I appreciate it, man. And we'd love to have you more often, more all the time. And be sure to invite friends and family. Hit that button right up there. Click, click, click on the internet address. And share that with people. There's a lot of people wanting to wake up. We're right now on a holiday weekend, Sunday night. That means nobody has to get up tomorrow. People should be busy with family. We still have over 530 people here live right now. Unbelievable. We've gone past 90 minutes. We got $3 off back with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, what about the medieval warming period? I guess it was the damn Vikings driving their gas-guzzling SUVs, I suppose. Yeah, there was a medieval warming period. Back to climate chaos. We just recently, folks, came out of this thing called the mini ice age. So before I get back to the medieval warming period, there was the mini ice age. It started back around 1650, and it got freezing freaking cold. It got so cold that the Thames River, the one that flows through London, froze over. The Thames froze over. There was no industrial period at that time. There were no oil. There was no burning of oil, natural gas, carbon being put out in industrial amounts. There weren't 8 billion people on the planet all farting and breathing at the same time. None of that. Still, the planet got really cold. And that mini ice age, or little ice age as they've called it, has continued all the way through till, well, kind of today. But it's slowly gotten a little warmer to where we're not having freezing. Now, the medieval warming period that $3 off is speaking of occurred back when the Vikings were Northern Europe's, shall we say, menace. I don't even dare call them benefactors. Freaking Vikings sailing all over the place, chopping people to bits, carrying their women off, screaming. Yeah, they weren't the best guys on the planet, my ancestors. But still, I think they did some things right. They were kind enough and generous enough to sail up the rivers into Russia and give them their government, their forms of government and law, the beginnings of their culture. Isn't that funny? Anyways, the Vikings also sailed across the ocean to Iceland, then over to Greenland, which at the time, during the medieval warming period, was not covered in ice. Greenland was, in fact, green. Today, Greenland is covered in ice. Pretty funny, huh? Yeah, but so 1,000 years ago, things got so warm that in England, let's go back to England again. I said, well, in the 1600s, the Thames froze over constantly. But 500 years prior to that, they were growing wine grapes in England. Today, they still can't do that because the vines will die from the extreme cold and nasty weather. Yeah, the Vikings had their medieval warming period. They didn't cause it. They didn't have their SUV Viking ships. They weren't grinding their swords and creating so much heat and smoke that it caused, global warming. Nope. They did sail down into Nova Scotia. They sailed into the Great Lakes. They sailed down the Mississippi River. They found a lot of Viking historical artifacts throughout North America. And again, down the coast, I believe when the Pilgrims got there, they discovered rocks with ruins and other fortifications, evidence of the Vikings having sailed that far south down the coast. I guess might be cliche if a guy like me said, well, if I was going to be part of another army, I'd want to be a Viking. That could have been something, huh? Compared to those men of old, we are so weak now, so soft. Right? I can't imagine the hardship and lives they lived. You're cold, so what? We're all cold. Shut up, you puss. I'm sure that the comments and commentary around a Viking dinner chow be something quite strange. I mean, today, thank you, 3 Box Op. Again, you've been awesome, man. Today, a 10-year-old Florida boy has been arrested. Did he get in a Viking ship and sail all around and chop to pieces anybody? Nope. But he made a text, and he threatened in his text a mass shooting. And I thought, yeah, okay, the kid's an idiot. He did a text message shooting or threatening a mass shooting. He's going to experience a little bit of trouble for being a turd, right? This is kind of like the boy who cried wolf. You cry wolf, you're going to piss people off. They're just going to smack you down. Anyways, this kid's a turd, and he's likely going to cost his parents some serious cash to deal with this little problem because he's got arrested for this. And the little kid will probably have to go through some specific and special sensitivity training and become a better, kinder, softer human. But why didn't Madonna, after she threatened to blow up the White House, the Trump White House, why didn't she get arrested? Why hasn't she ever been arrested for anything like that? Well, special rules for special people. That's what I always say. That's the world we live in. Where Vikings, they can get away with using their SUVs to warm the planet up. Unbelievable. We've got William Nipper with a $9.99 super chat donation. And he says, first time getting to watch live, and I enjoy your content. Thank you very much, William. We try very hard. Now, I don't want to take credit for the great content on this show. I don't want to do it because I'm not responsible for making it. I don't make this shit up. I don't have to. I don't have to. This shit is just, it's out there in the open. It's out there for all to see. I just have you guys working with me and then our very special research team to gather the information, to line it out and just talk about it and go, what does this mean? Where is this going? Right? If the food we're eating today was grown last year or the year before, what are we going to eat next year and the year after based on what's being grown today? Not much. You better have food. You better be ready with food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, means of self-defense, right? You better have all of that because we're in some big trouble if you don't have that kind of food. There's going to be problems. There's going to be shortages, William. Thank you very much for coming on board, for sharing your time, your ideas, your thoughts, and for making a super chat donation because that goes into the GTFB and SB fund. That's the Get the Fuck Back and Stay Back fund. Because I could just go back to the RMZ, the real man zone, where I was prior to the 2020 election, after Cerveza bug hit, and prior to the election, I was in the RMZ, hacking and carving my way into the jungle, making a off-the-grid cornucopia of silliness. Unbelievable. I actually caught an article the other day. There's some city or some country somewhere that is just pissed off because the chickens are taking over. They can't get rid of them. There's too many chickens running loose and wild. I guess it's not a problem unique to just the RMZ, but everywhere. And by the way, world, those chickens are food. You can eat them. Start hunting them. They're really not that hard to catch. They really aren't. You want to have a hard time catching something, try hunting deer in California. They're pretty wily. Anyways, we've got a lot going on, folks, an awful lot. We've got about 15 minutes to go here in our 2-hour Memorial Day special Sunday Night Live here at the zoo. And if you're new here, and a couple of you are apparently, William, we have the zoo, which is YouTube and Patreon come together, all together here on Sunday night. If you go to Patreon, you get to do question and answer all week long, Monday through Friday. Tomorrow, I'm going to do a bunch of episodes, or several, if you will, and we'll skip the live in the afternoon because it's going to be Memorial Day proper, and I'm going to be attending a function. But I will do videos and be out, folks. I'll be all over what's going on. Don't you worry, like white on rice, like stink on shit. Except I don't want to stink like shit. Anyways, yes, coming back from the RMZ was a critical thing. I was being driven nuts, knowing that, over here is where the real action was at, and I wanted to be there. And you guys make it possible to keep me here with your donations. GT, FB, and SB. Get the fuck back, John. We're all going to need you, and I'm here. I'm glad to be here. Thank you very much for your support. Now I have a popcorn and soda alert. Get your popcorn, get your soda or your beer, whatever you want, because the radical left, folks, don't worry, they're not terrorists, they're not criminals, they're just a bunch of peaceful protesters who shouted things like burn it down, and well, we'll just leave it at that. These people are very violent. They love to threaten people. And I don't know why they're not getting arrested for saying they're going to burn the Supreme Court to the ground. Really, right? The radical left, folks, has released plans. They're going to blockade the Supreme Court. They're going to blockade the roads. Remember when they did this? They had their autonomous zones. They had the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone in Seattle, where they put up blockades and blocked off roads until they threatened the mayor, and then the police cleaned the whole problem up in 1 freaking hour. How was that possible? They let it go for weeks and weeks back in the summer of 2020 until they threatened the mayor, or was it the governor? I think it was the mayor, Mayor Jenny. Not Jenny Jen here on the on the Prepared Mind channel. Not Jenny Jen. It was Mayor Jen. Mayor Jenny. Anyways, they're going to roadblock the Supreme Court because these radical leftists don't like the idea that the Supreme Court is going to basically nullify a prior decision that the federal government really has something to say. Well, looks like they're going to come out and say, no, it's a states' right issue. States can decide for themselves how they want to deal with abortion. But I would think that this is much more negative than the January 6th protests. Because January 6th protesters did not say they were taking over the Capitol Hill, the Congress. They didn't say they were throwing Congress out. They didn't say they were doing anything other than protesting. These people are actually talking about blockading the Supreme Court so the justices can't get there or they can't leave. They're impeding the egress and ingress into the Supreme Court. They're impeding the justice system. How is that not worse than a bunch of silly right-wing flag-waving Trump supporters on January 16th or January 6th being invited into the Capitol Hill rotunda by officers who unlocked the magnetic doors, opened them in, greeted them with a smile, and said, welcome. Unbelievable, huh? Unbelievable. Well, let's put the January 6th protesters in the gulag, the DC jails. But these radical leftists, folks, they're just silly kids. Even though they say, let's burn it to the ground. Let's burn it all to the ground. I think as part of your preparations, you better get used to the idea of putting out fires. I think that's coming, folks. I think we're going to have a lot of fires. These people are going to start a lot of fires. Literal fires. I think they're going to. I mean, these people are so insistent that they be allowed to get abortions. that they run around saying, we're baby killers. I mean, they really want to stop, folks, everyone from telling them what they can do with their bodies. Well, it's not really with their bodies we're worried about. It's what they're doing to unborn babies. Anyways, they want to intimidate the Supreme Court. And this is another way to intimidate them.
I worry it could begin to look like intimidation when it's at someone's doorstep. I'm someone.
It's so funny. So does what Alito wrote. Looks the same way to me. It looks like intimidation.
Well,
and yeah, it's kind of the same thing. But it also shows Alito what it feels like to lose your freedom of choice. He cannot leave the house easily, so maybe that's a good lesson for them. Intimidation, intimidation, intimidation. He cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. Cannot leave the house. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson. It's a good lesson for them. To lose your freedom, it's a good lesson for them. Obey. It's kind of the same thing.
Hello, wake up. Yeah, how does it feel to lose your freedom? California is poised to adopt a medical misinformation bill targeting alternative cerveza bug treatments, protocols. Well, I think that is just a 100% violation of constitutional rights, and it's going to get thrown out by the Supreme Court. But what happened to my body, my choice? Right? If someone can say it's my body, my choice, I'm going to go get a procedure, right, that harms my body and destroys the baby that's in me. How is that allowed? But taking harmless pharmaceuticals. The government says they're harmless. They're not dangerous to people, yet they could have a medicinal benefit that many doctors and many other experts say is 100% spot on, right? In other words, well, see, they won't allow me to say the words. As soon as I start to say it, zzz, zzz, zzz. Can't say that, John. Don't say it. Stop right there. Right? We're not allowed to talk about the real cure for cerveza bug. And it ain't the Jim Jones juice. Right? So California's going to say, no, doctors, hospitals, you're not allowed to use any of the alternatives. All you can use is the Jim Jones juice. And it's so bad that I believe Governor Newsom now has cerveza bug. Right? Who else got it? Kamala Harris. Who else got it? Jen Psaki. They came down. They became positive, tested positive for cerveza bug. I thought that they were supposed to be protected against it. Well, it's pretty bad when when you've been inoculated and you still get the thing you've been inoculated for. So what's it doing? I don't know. I guess maybe we should ask. Let's ask Ray Liotta. He could do like an infomercial. Oh wait, Ray is dead. It's terrible. We can't get Ray Liotta to do a PSA, a public service announcement. Too soon? We want to talk about too soon. Kevin McCarthy came out and he was allowed to speak at a Trump rally. I'm thinking that's way too soon for Kevin McCarthy, Republican. I almost called him Democrat. He's a rhino Republican, but he is the Republican leader of the House of Representatives in D.C. He's a total sleaze. He comes out of California. He claims to be a Republican. But guess what, folks? The people know. You and I, we know. Right? Kevin McCarthy came out at a Trump rally and was booed. It's because people know. He was in Wyoming, got booed. Because Americans know. Now, who else is in Wyoming? Liz Cheney, right? And the Trump-endorsed candidate is Harriet Hageman. It's going to be quite interesting to see what happens. I don't know how. I can't understand how Liz Cheney thinks she stands a chance, because Trump is there campaigning for her. He's endorsed her, is campaigning for her, and Liz Cheney is a hate-filled, never Trump rhino scumbag who is part of the January 6th committee. She thinks she's going to win, really? Unbelievable. We got $3 off with the $10 super chat donation. Again, he's back. He says, my body, my choice only applies to but not the Jim Jones juice. You should know that. Just shut up and listen to your betters. Right, exactly. My body, my choice. But everyone else better take the Jim Jones juice. Not once, but twice. And then go get your Jim Jones juice booster. And you don't have any choice because you're killing people if you don't do as you're told. I mean, it's the hypocrisy is crazy that they're talking out both sides of their neck on this. It's unbelievable. Talking out their ass, talking out, just unbelievable. But see, reality, intelligence, critical thinking, it doesn't apply. A Democrat can say one thing one day and the very next day say the exact opposite, and it's okay. It's okay. I mean, they're completely ridiculous. Off the hook ridiculous. And I'm going to do this. I'm going to give you an example of how stupid Democrats are. Now, I want to preface this little story by saying the Federal Bureau of Investigation, every single last one of their agents is a lawyer. You have to be a lawyer first. You have to go to law school first. You have to get your Juris Doctorate first. Once you have that, once you're an attorney, then you can go be an FBI special agent. Of course, you have to go to the FBI Academy, yada, yada, yada. So we all know that the FBI has been really admirable the last few years, right? That they're not a bunch of political hacks. Yeah, they are. But there's a man in Sacramento. He pleads guilty to plotting to firebomb a Democrat Party headquarters in Sacramento with homemade explosives. Okay, they put a picture of this guy up. He's got brown hair, but it's kind of bleached blonde. You can see his roots, right? This is a total setup and false flag by the FBI yet again, right? Because no real conservative man in America would dye his hair blonde the way this clown did. Once again, it's a clown show. But number two, this is how stupid they are, right? Every FBI agent has been on the side of the Democrats, the deep state, Washington, D.C. sewer rats. That's the FBI. That's who they're serving. They work for that. If the FBI says that one of the perps is a white supremacist because he has a white privilege card, right? Have you seen the joke? It's a joke. It's a card. It looks kind of like a credit card because it's got numbers on it and a name, and it says white privilege card, right? Those cards are jokes. Literally, they're jokes. And in no way does the card represent it isn't indicative of what a white supremacist would carry. But that's what the FBI wants everyone to believe, that one of these guys, one of the two that decided that they were going to try to bomb this thing, they got set up, then they got arrested. Idiots, right? In other words, I bet they once again, it was a sting operation where they were probably, and I'm completely speculating, but geez, could this be based on past history of the FBI? You know, kind of like trying to trick those guys into admitting or creating a plot to kidnap Governor Whitmore up there in Michigan. They blew it. They did that such a bad job of entrapment that the judges are like, we can't handle this. The same FBI, folks. That's how stupid they are. That if you have a joke card that says white privilege, right? It says, this card trumps everything else, and it's got the number 45 in it in a bunch of different areas. So it's obviously a joke about Trump. But Trump is a white supremacist, and if you think you have white privilege, like you're going to show that to a cop, and you're not going to get a ticket. You probably get a maximum ticket, right? It's a joke. It's all a joke, and these people, folks, they're a joke. This is how stupid the FBI are. This is how gullible they think we are to buy that kind of bullshit. Unbelievable. Democrats, folks, the FBI are Democrats. They're hardcore anti-American socialists, and they're that stupid. It's not going to get better, folks. There's an issue out there. There's some kind of dividing line that once you pick up one side or the other, you can't go back on. You can't go back. You can't take it back, right? Kind of like this. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, AOC, old horse face herself, the chick with teeth so big she could eat an apple through a picket fence, right? She says that white supremacists commit the vast majority of domestic crimes, domestic terrorism so far. By far, right? White supremacists commit the vast majority of domestic terrorism. Show me some domestic terrorism. I believe in 2020, billions of dollars. When was the last time you saw white supremacists burning down a courthouse or a police station? When was the last time you saw white supremacists burning a car, a police car? When was the last time you saw white supremacists burning a church? It would be all over the news. It would. They're not burning down cities. They're not blocking freeways. They're not beating up old people. They're not, you don't see any white supremacist autonomy zones. You don't see it. But the FBI, oh, they'll tell you all about it. And AOC, oh, she's smart too. That's one smart cookie there. I don't think so. I just don't, right? I just don't. Back Country Preps, that's Big Vaughn, checks in with a $5 super chat donation. And he says, love you, homie. Not in a faggy way, but like a brother. Yeah, no shit, man. Keep doing what you're doing. You too, man. Keep wrestling them brown trout when they get stuck in a pipe. God bless you, Vaughn. You're a good man. Almost met Vaughn once down in SoCal, but extenuating circumstances stopped that meeting, which could have been completely a disaster. But it would have been one hell of a good time. One of these days, man, one of these days. We're going to do this. We're at the end of the show. It is Memorial Day, and I'm trying to be respectful of everyone's time. We're out of super chats. I'm never out of topics. But I got to get some rest. I'm going to be back tomorrow morning, though, putting together more videos. And I want to thank you guys, especially 3OpBox, for checking in and really stepping up and supporting the show. Same with you, Mr. Skylight. Same with everybody. Crazy Uncle, Darcy. We've had just some great sponsors of the show. And if it weren't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. Really, we need everyone watching, sharing this information, getting the videos out in front of other people so they can hear what we're talking about. Stuff that will never be on mainstream news. Ideas and thoughts that will never be on mainstream news or radio or in a newspaper. We talk about things here that will not get talked about at the water cooler at work. And we're not even being extreme. We're just talking about what is happening in the world. There's another way to think about everything. And if you're not allowed to talk about it, we've got censorship, and that's wrong. That's bad. Because if there's only one way to think about something, then whoever controls that one way, well, they're controlling the reality that people have, right? Think for yourself is what I say. We only have information here. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm saying here's some other ideas. We need to look at all of these other ideas. Choose for ourselves, right? You do need, though, however, and I'll tell you this, food, water, shelter, clothing, medicine, needs of self-defense, you bet. That's not going away. Never think that these people are going to defeat us on the Second Amendment. Never let them defeat you on the Second Amendment. There's no reason they should or could. People are morons, but they vote. Yes, oh, they vote. And they tug at the heartstrings of America by allowing bad things to happen, causing bad things to happen, encouraging bad things to happen. Right, Maxine Waters? Right, Kamala Harris? Right, Joe Biden? Encouraging people to continue their acts of violence back in 2020. It's coming. They're going to do the same thing this year. It's going to be the 2022 Summer of Love as we enter the heavy campaign section. We just finished the election primaries, and now it's time for the head-to-head Republican versus Democrat, all the lies and bullshit. There's going to be massive violence. 3Box Op didn't let me run away with another $10 super chat donation. He says, last super chat, I swear. And that's okay, brother. He said, as long as there's a super chat, I'll keep answering them and keep it going. He says, quote, if there is to be war, let it happen in my day so that my children may have peace. So mote it be, man. Make that so, make it happen. Amen, etc., etc. If there is to be war, let it happen in my day so that my children may have peace. I have wanted that to be true. I've wanted this to happen and get done so that my kids and my grandchildren can have peace. Yours too. It's coming. You have to be prepared for any potential, right? Don't be like Ukraine. Don't have no weapons and then need them. Don't be like Sri Lanka or Pakistan or any other country where they're running out of food. You have to be responsible for yourselves. We have thepreparedmind.com. I'm sorry. Woohoo. Thepreparedmind.club. See what happens after a couple hours? Start getting forgetful there. We don't have .com. They're selling that for like $5,000. Thepreparedmind.com. Not paying $5,000 for that. I think we only had to pay like $500 for the preparedmind.club. I can't remember what it was. Maybe it was only $5. Whatever it was, certainly wasn't $5,000. But at the preparedmind.club, you can get your beans, bullets, and band-aids. You can get self-defense items. You can get water filtration. You can get long-term food storage, Armageddon chow. You can get communications equipment. You can get access to medications that they don't even want you talking about in California or on social media. It's all right there, folks, at the preparedmind.club. Yes, talk about it, think about it, talk to others at work, at home, during the holidays. What a great time to talk to family and say, I've been telling you for years, get prepared. How do you like me now? See what they say. Godspeed to you all. I love you all. Thank you so much. Share this video. I'm going to keep saying it. Share it, share it, share it. Share that address up there. We've got to get people to wake up and get themselves prepared. I can't feed the entire neighborhood, the entire city. I can't do it. I'm just one little guy. I can't do it. None of us can. But we can tell people the same thing that my mom told me when I was a kid. God helps those who help themselves. Well, I'm trying to tell people, help yourselves. Get prepared now. Semper Fi. Godspeed to you all.